Hello everyone, this is Raw Honey. Sorry, I have dogs in the background chewing really loudly that are not listening to me. But we're about to do an interview today, this morning, and I just wanted to do a quick introduction and also just a little message. I had a loss in the family yesterday from COVID, so I just want to send love in that direction. And I know that they watched the podcast, and so I just want to say that, we're all going to get through this together, and we have a beautiful family that's going to put our arms around each other and heal from this. So much love, and I'm excited to start this interview and just bring some inspiration and some raw honey moments into sort of a difficult time, which is really what raw honey is about. So it's a raw time, but there is sweetness to come. So I love you guys, and I love my family, and I'm here for you. And let's start this interview. Okay, so everyone, this is Austin Harper. He is a mentor of mine and someone I had the privilege of working with. And he so kindly offered to be on the podcast, and I'm really excited to introduce him and have him speak just on a difficult experience he went through, how he got through that, and just kind of show those, another example of someone who just has some raw honey moments. And then you may hear some dog sounds in the background because my dogs are chewing on bones really loudly. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking and have my colleague and mentor tell his story. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so as you said, my name is Austin Harper. I used to talk about some of my hobbies. So I think a big part of my hobby is obviously reading. I like to read and just, the inside of a lot of, if we can't meet them in person, mentors that, you can pick through books, and I guess listening to podcasts such as this, get some insightful thoughts and just grow the mind. So that's one big one. And then obviously working out, running, staying physically fit. I think that not only goes with the job that we're in, but also is a hobby just to keep the mind right one way, like I said before, but also, keep the body physically fit, and just that overall, I guess, trying to stay at one with what you have. Yeah, I think those are my two biggest hobbies, what takes up a lot of my day. And I think as we talk more in the podcast, I guess one of my hobbies is tied to what I'm going to speak on as far as overcoming and still trying to overcome what I guess I'm dealing with.
Yeah. Thank you. I forgot to ask you your hobbies first. I sort of just dove right in.
That's right.
But thank you for talking about those. Yeah, so tell me how those hobbies, like you were kind of alluding to, those hobbies contribute to your story of resilience, or whatever direction you want to go with that.
Yeah, so when you shot me the questions and what you kind of the route you kind of take with the podcast, exactly like you said, I looked into it as resiliency, and I know it's something that within our our job or our career field they kind of harp on a lot, but I feel like it's more than just being resilient at your job. I think it's resiliency is something that you deal with every day, and in fact, it's something that you can move with each growing problem or kind of roadblock in your life. But I would say the biggest thing for me, I guess we'll just dive right into it, is I think from the ages of 6 to 15, I would say around 15, I really dealt with the body image complex, which I'm pretty sure tens of thousands, if not millions, of people deal with every day.
Yeah.
Growing up, I was always in sports. I was always with other, peers of mine, groups of kids. But I was always I guess, lack of better terms, the huskier kid or
Mm-hmm.
the bigger kid. And, from a young age, even kids, back when I was growing up, even kids nowadays, their friends are, just very, they can tell who the bigger kid is. They're very judgmental, just like the way your peers look at you. So at a young age, I really felt it, being the, back in terms, I guess, the more obese kid,
Mm-hmm.
growing up. So I really felt some type of body complex,
Yeah.
wanting to fit in with like my other friends that, were skinnier or, faster or just didn't look as I looked.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt a lot of this had to do with not only that, growing up, I think you can probably attest to it too, like the images we see on TV. The fit people, a lot of actors, actresses,
Mm-hmm.
professional athletes, whatever it may be, they have that image of like a perfect body.
Yeah.
But I think that just is something that has, and even when I say until the age of 15, when I started to actually lose weight and grow into my body, I still think it's a complex that I grew up with, 9 years of my life, and it's still ingrained in my mind. So even now today, um, it's this weird irrational fear of thinking to myself in the mirror that I'm still fat, or I still have the weight that I had as a kid, and just never really getting over it. So that's kind of the obstacle I face, or challenge, as you would say, the raw.
Yeah. Well,
Always that.
it's
Yeah.
so interesting that I've never, I mean, I don't think, I mean, I grew up with all girls except my dad,
Yeah.
and so body images is is almost a part of adolescence for women, and it's and young girls, and it's like was a huge thing in my childhood, but I've never really understood or talked to a guy that's ever talked about something like that. So I think it's
Yeah.
really eye-opening to me to get this perspective and have someone come forward with this perspective, because I don't think that I ever knew about it or thought men dealt with it at all. So this is definitely probably going to be pretty humbling to a lot of the females that listen to my podcast and don't think men go through anything like this.
Yeah, and I think I guess as a man, it's a little less profound,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the really people coming, or I guess talking about it or just socializing it. But um, growing up, I feel like young boys and young men, um, I hate to use like the metaphor, but like the last to pick on the playground,
Mm-hmm.
or the last to be picked on a sports team, or the one that sits on the sidelines because he's not,
Yeah.
maybe he has the athletic skill, but he doesn't have like the part or the look, or he's not the fastest. Um, but I think it does play a toll on a lot of young boys and young men. It's just not as, I guess, widely talked about or publicized, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of studies culturally on men not having near the permission to talk about things
Yeah.
they're going through with friends, with anyone, that women sort of do almost to a oversaturated point. So it makes sense why it's not really talked about that much.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. It's not oversaturated, but I feel like since we've come to, I think more recently in times, things have become more socially acceptable,
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of body image and complex. So I feel like it's something that's starting to hopefully come to light. It's not just young girls or females that grow up with this body image or complex based on what they see, but it happens to males as well. And like I was saying, something that I'm still dealing with. I still deal with it mentally. 9 years. I'm 29 now, but 9 years is still a large chunk.
Mm-hmm.
I guess almost like a third of my life that I really dealt with this complex of thinking that I don't look the part to be able to participate, or I don't look the part to, go to the beach and take my shirt off, or at the community pool. I was the kid jumping in the pool with a shirt on. Just because
Yeah.
I was the one who felt comfortable in my own body until I was able to start, I guess, growing into my body as many like pre-adolescent teens or teens start to do as we grow older.
Yeah.
But that mindset was always there, and like I said earlier, training the mind is a hobby. I think it's something everyone should do by reading or, podcasts such as this, or just learning and growing more. I've read books on it, and it's still a blockage that I'm dealing with today. But there's ways around it, and I guess that's the honey part that we're going to talk about later, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you feel like your sort of your love to work out and your love for sports, do you think that was driven by, trying to look a certain part and prove a certain thing, or do you think that you really just genuinely love those activities and those hobbies?
Yeah, definitely. So I think starting out, growing up, I guess from the 9 to preteen, the 6 to preteen stage, it was really running and just physical activity outside with my friends. That kind of, I guess, not so much was a passion, but like I felt like mentally I had to do it because I felt like I had to lose weight.
Yeah.
I had to be outside running around because I wasn't comfortable with my body, but the only way I could get it done is as I was watching on TV, people running, athletes saying you got to train. So in my mind, I was thinking I was training.
Mm-hmm.
As I got into my teen years and I can really go to the gym and stuff like that, I'd be in the gym after practice. I'd be running laps after practice just so I can lose some more weight or look more the part that my mind was thinking I need to look in order to excel in my sport. But I think as the years went on and even now, the mental blockage of me having to do it, thinking I have to look a certain way, it's turned more into a hobby and something I enjoy now. So not only am I working out and kind of shattering that mental blockage that I still have in my mind, but at the end of the day, it's something that I actually legitimately enjoy doing because it's just something that I enjoy. And once I'm done with the workout, I'm able to feel accomplished for the day, or accomplishing that task of hey, at the end of the day, if I just lay around and not do anything else, at least I worked out and accomplished something and try to better myself in some way. That makes sense.
So you saw that need to work out sort of evolve into more of a healthy habit as you got older.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you feel like you remember that shifting point and like when it started becoming something you did to relieve stress versus something you did to sort of like look a certain way, or still in that unhealthy mindset of it? Really? Sorry, the dogs.
Yeah, I think I would say my sophomore year in college, when I stopped working out or trying to look a certain way or improve a certain facet of my body or function in order to excel in the sport. Because I stopped playing then. It kind of shifted from hey, I have to do this to look a certain image or feel a certain way or develop a certain muscle or area of my body to make sport or my life better, into just a healthy habit of making my life better, to where I wasn't focusing on just the image. I was focusing on more the health aspect. As a way of doing this.
Yeah, it's really interesting how complex that that process has to be, because it's almost like when people struggle with food issues, like you struggle with something that you inherently need as a human. So how to evolve that sort of the toxic nature you put into that need, how to evolve that and make it healthy again, because you have to have it in your life, but you also have this huge issue with it. So it's really impressive that you were able to evolve that habit, because we do need to work out if we're going to be healthy and if we're going to be in this job. But how do you do it in a way that's like healthy and helping you, and not sort of an addiction and something that is driven by a need to look a certain way or driven by insecurity, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I think that, you know, at first when I was doing it, it was an addiction.
Yeah.
Staying later than other people on the team in order to work out. Running more laps or doing certain things, a certain way in order to, I guess, tire myself out more, or you know, mentally feel like, hey, I've actually accomplished or lost some weight today. Now I can stop. I think when you flip that switch and doing it just so you just feel overall that, I guess, that release of endorphins, and you're just like, man, this is just a good feeling, and I'm not trying to do it for a specific goal. I'm just doing it because it's something I enjoy. I think that was kind of the turning point to where, hey, I'm actually doing this because it's something I just enjoy, not because there's a specific goal or a complex or image in mind.
Yeah. I think not. I think it takes a long time for people to get to the other side of that, because I think working out, especially, there's sort of a complex of it, having been a college athlete too. There's almost like you've worked out so hard for such a specific purpose to train, that when you don't have to anymore and no one's blowing the whistle, you just want to sleep all day. Like that's definitely been an issue I've struggled with, is like figuring out how to love working out on my own terms without the same objective that I've had my whole life. So it's definitely, like, working out is such a fluid hobby that you really have to find ways to love it at all stages of your life, and it takes work. It definitely takes work.
No, I agree. Yeah, it definitely does take work, but I feel like, anything, 30, 60, 90 days, if you make it a habit,
Yeah.
it's something that sticks with you. I think in our, I guess, career field, it's something that, we're able to do. They give us an hour a day to do. So it's something that I feel like for us, it's easier to build a habit. I guess it's easier to build working out into a habit. Bettering yourself for that 1 hour they cut out for us to, better your body. And I think a lot of times, your body, one thing, you're just connected to your mind. So sometimes I feel like working out actually strengthens the mind, and, you're exhausting yourself, but also in working out, I don't know, when I work out, I feel like I'm in my own little world, something that I'm able to really take time for. Not sure if you feel the same, but
I do, but it's taken, like, working out has been, it was a huge part of my childhood, and it sort of has some baggage tied in with it. Just because I came from a very athletically intense family, and there was a lot of expectation, and then mix that with, like, body issues. So there's still stuff that I am unpacking to get through, sort of what you went through too. Like, I would say I'm not on the other side of that yet. Or working out still has some triggering effects on me. So that's why yoga and different really creative ways to work out have been really helpful for me, because it's hard for me to just go into a gym and not feel a lot of baggage. And I haven't ever really talked about that on the show, because I kind of just didn't I don't know. I just am kind of tapping into it again, which is why I love the interviews. But yeah, I think with people there's all types of reasons that people have baggage, and working out seems like why would you have baggage with that? But it's definitely a loaded topic for me. So I'm glad that you are bringing it up, because it's definitely forcing me to think about it more.
No, yeah, definitely, and it's I guess through the conversation, it's good that I see the other perspective because, growing up and even now, sometimes, you think of your childhood. I think that, man, if only my mom would have pushed me more or got me into more, I guess, athletic clubs or training or whatever it may be, maybe that would have, forced my psyche or made me better at,
Mm-hmm.
at my sport or helping with my body image. But, hearing your perspective of, hey, maybe coming from that type of environment, pushing you too hard, affect as well. So
Yeah.
that's something that, it's good for me to hear because not saying that what you went through is good for me, but
Yeah, I know what you
I'm
mean.
saying it's good it's good to hear a different perspective though, because I always thought like, man, maybe if my family would have been more sport inclined and pushed me harder, it would have helped. But sometimes the grass isn't always greener.
Yeah, I think it's such a toss up. Like, you just don't know, how, like, I don't think my parents intended for me to be so, like, resentful about the sports and the constant working out and the constant competing. I don't think that they look back and they think that, well, what opportunity that was for you and how much I would have loved to have had that opportunity growing up.
Yeah.
But it just sort of like, I just was in it pushed me in the opposite direction where I was like, I don't want to do sports. I don't want anything to do with sports. I don't want anything to do with working out. And it took me, I was obviously in the military, so I couldn't escape it. And I'm still really finding a healthy relationship with working out. And it's definitely a fluid process for me. But I have to push myself in this career, so I'm figuring it out. But it definitely pushed me in a different direction growing up than I think people would assume. But I was the youngest, and so I was, the youngest don't always want to do everything their sisters do. And I think that's a big part of it too. But not trying to steal the spotlight from your interview. It's just very interesting to be on the other side of it.
No, yeah, but it's good to hear like I said, the other side of the road, as part of this,
Yeah.
But I know we've spoken so much about working out and fitness.
Yeah.
But I think another part of this, I guess, rawness, what I would call it, is the toll it took on my mind, and like I alluded to earlier, sometimes I still find myself looking in the mirror and thinking, man, I'm still that fat kid. I think it manifests after I maybe eat unhealthy. That's why a lot of my diet, I try to make it as healthy as possible. But when I do eat unhealthy, I feel like there's always that part of the mind that always sticks with you no matter what happened when you were a child or how much you tried to get over it. But I feel like just the adolescent years in general kind of, shape the mind to how it is. But as far as that goes, I just wanted to share that as well. It's not just a physical image, but the mind is also a big tool of it because, as I said earlier, working out is not just the body, it's the mind as well.
Yeah. It's definitely, I would say the mind is a bigger piece of it when it comes to having body issues than the physical part, because you just have those triggers and you have that, trauma as big or as small as it may be, and it takes a lot of reflection and awareness and mindfulness to not look in the mirror and have that knee-jerk reaction, or have some food that maybe isn't classified as like really healthy and not result to all of your negative knee-jerk feelings about yourself. So I definitely think it takes a lot of work to get to the other side of those things. And I definitely am not on the other side of them. I think I'm reflecting on it like constantly, but it's years, probably at least a decade of unhealthy relationships with food and working out that are going to probably going to trigger me for a long time. And so it's just like being aware of it, talking to people, relating to them, figuring out ways to work out, figuring out ways to eat that are healthy but that are also like I'm not being my worst critic at the same time. So it's definitely a process. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, definitely agreeable. And like you said, your worst critic, I feel like that's something that, we all deal with. I think everyone deals with being their own worst critic. Self-reflection, I think, is the most harsh reflection. Someone can say it to you, but until you really take it in and say it to yourself, I think that's really, really, really where we learn to, overcome, irrational fears or a mindset. What I was talking about with the body image, I find I don't know if it's more of a coping mechanism or trying to train my mind, but really not looking in the mirror at myself. What I mean by that is when looking into the mirror, not looking at my body or how I look, but more just staring into myself and thinking, hey, I can overcome this, or taking that time to really deep, self-reflection and thought. I'm in front of a mirror to kind of break my own mental habit of just looking at my appearance or the outer image of what I am. So I don't know if that made any sense. It's kind of rambling there, but
no, the mirror
like
is definitely
my own little mind trick. Yeah.
There's an interesting. I saw it on an app that I'm on right now, and it talked about looking in the mirror for like 30 days. Maybe it's like meant to be a habit breaking thing. And just like noticing what you feel when you look in the mirror for like 30 days, just noticing it. And I like honestly was a little afraid to do that exercise because I definitely look in the mirror and I look at my legs and I look at my stomach. And there's judgments that are made immediately. Even if I'm I'm constantly having to combat that. Like, I'm aware of it, but the thought of writing it down every day would probably scare the hell out of me because I know that I would be subconsciously judging myself, 4 to 5 times a day. And I think that scares me to recognize, but I would like to do that because I don't want to. I feel like I'm just getting used to. You just get used to it, and you think it's just part of. You're just like, oh, this is just part of life. But it's like, how are you really making yourself better? How are you reflecting on it and then actually taking action? And I think that you've done that, but I don't think that I have done that nearly as much as I should.
Yeah, no, but just as you were saying, the 30-day thing, I haven't seen the app and I haven't done that exercise, but I guess it's something I've been doing, not knowing that it's actually a thing. But really looking into the mirror and I see my stomach, thighs, whatever it may be, arms, chest, and I think, man, it's not where I want them to be. Still reflecting back to childhood blockage of, hey, I need to look better. But then I feel like over the times of looking in the mirror and trying to I guess block those thoughts out. It's really looking into the mirror and just thinking like, man, I'm just grateful to be in this body and be alive, or hey, I'm just grateful to wake up in the morning. Because as soon as you start, I guess, saying positive things by looking in the mirror, it's really a mindset change for the day. Instead of the negative aspect of when I used to look in the mirror and go, man, I'm fat, or man, I'm not as cut as I want to be. Man, my arms aren't as big as I want it to be. My thighs are, looking a little thick, or something like that. I think when you look in the mirror and kind of have the immediate positive reaction of being grateful for something or being grateful for something that you look in your reflection, that's why that kind of starts the day off on a not only on a better note, starting the day off on a better note, but yeah, it gets you out of the testament of the body image, the thought of, a negative body connotation, which kind of starts the day off negative as well. So.
Yeah, and that's what I think that
Yeah.
it could be a really good exercise to combine sort of what we're talking about, where you recognize your knee-jerk reaction, you're reflecting on it, whether that's, this part of my body needs to be better. You recognize it, and then you counter that with like 3 positives about your body, because it really takes anywhere from 2 times to 3 times the amount of positives to counter a negative thought. So to sort of just do that in the morning, or do that whenever you look in the mirror, just whether you write it down or you reflect on it, but to like intentionally put positives in there, so that, because who knows how much negativity we're subconsciously like subjecting ourselves to when we look in the mirror, because I'm just really reflecting on it right now, and I don't think when I've looked in the mirror and thought those negative things that I've ever countered them with a positive thing. So I would be really interested to do that exercise and like see if I can combat sort of my knee-jerk reactions in the future.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like just, since we're on the topic, just to real quick, doing it every morning. Every morning when we wake up, a typical human, I guess, goes to the restroom and there's some type of mirror in there.
Yeah.
So just making that a daily habit where, if someone listens to this and they think, man, I need to start this exercise, it's a daily habit of waking up, looking in the mirror, and saying something positive about yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's just a great way to not only stop as we're talking about the body image thing of the body complex, you need to be better, but also just, I feel like that just is a better perspective of life. Saying something positive and starting the day off that way.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it takes like a lot of reflection to know where you're really being negative at. And I like to consider myself a really positive person, but I feel like sometimes I'm the most negative in my relationship with myself. And so it's like how you're going to reflect on, your positivity with others all the time. Depending on your personality, I definitely do that. But it's like, am I really reflecting on my positive relationship with myself? And is that as positive and as honest as it could be? And so I would definitely like to reflect on that more. And I think this is going to be a key area for me to work on. And other women, or men, whoever's struggling with it, which is probably a lot of people, because I don't know a single person that looks in the mirror and doesn't probably have some judgment when they do that.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely, I agree. But if you can change that mindset of, I'm looking in the mirror, but like you said, I may think something negative initially because my body and my mind, or just my own self-reflection. We are our own worst critics sometimes. It's a habit of doing that. But if you can break that habit by, as you had said, 3 positives, maybe with a negative, and then sooner or later, you make it a habit where you're not even thinking negative anymore. You're just thinking positives when you look at yourself in the mirror. So like that's something that's helped me, especially with the negative body image of a man. Maybe not. I'm maybe not doing that same exercise that we just talked about. That we basically talked about the 3 positives, but it's still something that, hey, if I say negative now, I'm saying a positive. Or I'm looking in the mirror now, I'm just thinking, blessed to be alive, or it's good to wake up today.
Putting some gratitude in there too.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dog's being really loud. Can you guys stop, please? Hey, play nice. But I just feel like sometimes our relationship with ourself is the one that we work on the least, because it's such an intangible thing. Like, you don't see movies about that. You see movies about relationships with other people, and that's where the focus is. So I want people to come back and be like, hey, you deserve more than when you look in the mirror and feel like shit. Like, you deserve more than that. But it takes work.
Yeah.
And so, I'm hoping that these tools will help people and help me and help you to really be our biggest fan, because the world is going to bring us down all the time and we can't control that. So you have to come home and be your safe space, ideally,
No, yeah, I just think as you had alluded to just now, you're saying we're our own worst enemy sometimes, but I feel like at the same time we're our own hero.
Mm-hmm.
As easily as it is for our self-image and our self-thought to break ourselves down, it's just as easy for our self-worth to build ourselves back up.
Mm-hmm.
So no, yeah, like I said, I definitely agree with your statement of, we work so hard to build relationships with others. I think if people just put a little bit more time in building a relationship with themselves,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these things that, we had just talked about, the body image of a man, the body image of females, the two sides of the coin, I guess, your family kind of pushing you into that athletic mindset. My family kind of let just
Yeah.
not so much push me, but me thinking myself I need to be this type
Yeah.
of mindset. I feel like if that could all came to fruition, and we need building ourselves up more, own self-reflection and image, working on ourselves more could have. But even now that we know that it helps with those images of our past and the mental blockage and obstacles we dealt with in the past, for more self-thought and taught, it helps a lot more, break those down and really, get to know ourselves better, build ourselves back up from what we came from. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's no, anyone can do that no matter what stage of your life. You can reflect and heal from past thought processes, past wounds, whatever it is, and you can, really heal and be stronger and help the world, avoid the same things or heal from the same things. So there's a lot of endless, opportunity there.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we talked about the sweetness of it, but do you feel like we talked about it? Because I think we went on some tangents, so I don't want to steal the second part of your story if there is sort of a second part. Or did we already cover that?
Oh, I mean, I think we covered it with our tangents.
Yeah.
I think it all came together from what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is I still have, like I was saying, I still have that mind
Mm-hmm.
blockage of, I look at myself in the mirror and I still see that fat kid. But as we talked about with the mirror exercise, I think it's something that I do, I see a negative, but then I reflect on the positives. I've come a long way. 23 years later, it's a long way to develop. I think like I have said, a lot of things in our adolescence still stay into fruition. Probably until the day I take my last breath, it's going to stay in my mind. Like we had said, those exercises of self-reflection and self-thought and self-taught helped me to combat that. That mental image of when I was younger, or that blockage. But yeah, we spoke about it all.
Yeah, I think so. That's why I wasn't sure when I first started this season how I was going to like interviewing people. I was kind of thought it was such a cliche because so many podcasts just interview people. I mean, I love podcasts,
Yeah.
but I have sort of a terminal authenticity issue. And every time I interview someone, even though my last interview was with my sister, I just feel like I reflect in a way that I can't do by myself. So I really appreciate your honesty and how it's helped me be more honest and reflective about what I'm feeling every day, probably several times a day, that I have sort of numbed out or normalized when I really shouldn't be doing that if I'm trying to be my best, my biggest fan. So yeah, thank you so much. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up here?
No, I said no, but yes. I feel like, you said you dropped into this, I guess, this new season of your podcast. And I definitely agree with you. I feel like the interviewing actually doesn't just help you, but I feel like as the interviewee, just so you know, it's helped me as well, because a discussion like this, brings different perspectives and really shows that, hey, everyone's combating with, some type of demon or obstacle in their life. And a lot of times it could be the same. There's ways around it. And I feel like you interviewing really helps the interviewee, because it gives us some, not only an outlet to talk about it, but, some solutions as well, and some mindfulness as well. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. I hope to be just as honest as my as the people I'm interviewing are. So it's maybe I'm not really here just to interview. I'm not just gonna like stay silent, because I think it's such a great opportunity to be like, wow, okay, I totally do that too, and reflect on that and make it sort of a connection thing, because I think connection is very healing. And I don't ever want to come off like in this podcast like I'm someone that has everything figured out, because that's not my intention, and that's really never going to be the case for any human being. I am just trying to be as humble as I can through this process and help people with tools along the way. So yeah, thank you for being part of that. And I'm really glad that we got to talk. And I think we're probably going to wrap things up here. And I'm going to stop recording pretty soon. So I hope everyone has a great day, and we will see you next time.